Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So it is time for my April wrap up. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. I know I always make that promise, and I never ever I try, okay, but I read so many books in a month. I read 14 books last month, which was not at all what I wanted. I wanted to read more than that, but do I ever read more than 20 books? I've read up to 20 books, but not more than that. So let's just get into it. First book was 1,000 Perfect Lies. This was a gift from the publisher. Once again, huge thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of this book. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually liked it more than I thought I would. It is a academic mystery thriller, kind of, not really, more mystery than thriller. You have our main character, Billy. She is infiltrating a boarding school at the behest of her estranged father to find out who attempted to kill her sister and also framed her for murder. Her sister is in a coma. They don't know what's going to happen, but they have a time limit because she is going to be sent to a prison facility soon. So no longer hospital care, but hospital care in a prison. And you can only think, like, they want to prevent that because she is in a coma. And no one even wants to begin to think about the type of abuse she's going to receive. So Billy infiltrates the school. She does her best to try to solve things, and she uncovers something else that is connected to her sister's attempted murder. I like the tension in the story. I liked it more than I thought I would. This is, when it comes to young adult, I love the young adult, but I'm more of a sci-fi fantasy reader, not so much contemporary. I'm very picky when it comes to contemporary. It's not what I gravitate towards, unless it's like horror, but that also falls in the line of like sci-fi fantasy more times than not. Or like slasher related. So I don't normally pick up these types of books. This is not a book I would have gone to the bookstore to pick up at all. I know me. I would have been like, oh, that's pretty, and then I just would have walked right by it. It's not a book I would have been like, ooh, let me see what that's about, and picked it up. So a huge thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of the book, getting me out of my comfort zone. That's why I usually just say yes to a lot of publisher emails, because I'm like, you know what? This is a way for me to step out of my comfort zone without, like, physically paying for it, and then when I do love it, I can still support the author with my reviews. So I did thoroughly enjoy it more than I thought I would. It had a nice plot twist at the end that I didn't see coming. I think what I really thought was best were the character dynamics, first and foremost. I loved the character dynamics for this book. I followed that up with Between These Broken Hearts. Again, another one that I thoroughly enjoyed. What really, really made me love this book even more is we still have that dual POV with Jocelyn and Felicity, and I think both girls, they both struggle with, one, PTSD, and two, they struggle with loving their true selves, but they both go on two individual journeys, and they get to the same point. They both learn to love themselves, and they both come to terms with their trauma. And they have different forms of trauma. They have different forms of self-hating stemming from different issues. So I love how it's the same journey, but it both have different emotional impacts, Both are emotionally different. So same themes, but completely unique to each character. And I love the character growth first and foremost with this book, the character dynamics, and also you're working, and now this is another one where you have a time limit. The thing has to get done. Like, you have until a certain day to, and make sure the bad guy fails. So there's a lot of rising tension. It is hooking. It's like bam, 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 because you have that ticking time limit, right? You have to get it done by said time frame. And I love that about the book because it kept me engaged and it kept the tension running, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I love the character dynamics. I think this was a really good book to end this series honestly. You know, it really made everything come full circle. After that, I read The Poisons We Drink. Now, this was a arc sent to me from the publisher from a long time ago. I think my biggest issue with this book is the main character, Venus. I love the book itself. I love how it deals with systemic racism, and I like how it does the whole Witcher concept much differently. But what I think hindered me the most was I just didn't like Venus as a character. She was very much unlikable. Her characterization fell flat for me. She seemed almost arrogant and self-righteous at the same time. And I just didn't really like her. I like the plot, I like the story, I like the systemic racism and the way it has to deal with corrupt governments. I liked elements of the story. It was really just Venus who just kind of turned me off. I didn't really like her. I liked the side characters. I liked her friend group. It was just her that I couldn't stand. And when I can't stand your main character, that is kind of a problem. Because it really creates this wall between me and the story, and me really losing myself in the story. I followed that up with The Verdant Cage. This is another arc sent to me from the publisher. Lots of arcs. I'm trying to get through all my arcs, okay? Thoroughly enjoyed this book. It has a slow start. It is a bit of a slow start, but it reminded me a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, and also The Grace Year, which, by the way, is a very underhyped book in my opinion. Loved both of those elements, and I loved the plot twist. I thought the plot twist was really, really interesting. I liked the way the story developed. I do think Rose was a little unlikable at times, admittedly. Her and Griffin, I liked their kind of enemies to friends to lovers dynamic. So they were friends, childhood friends, turned enemies, turned not quite friends, but like alliances turned lovers, right? So I liked their growth and the dynamic for the story. Let me tell you, when I was done reading this book, when I got to the ending, I was like, what the fuck? I instantly went on Google and I was like, there has to be a sequel to this book. There has to be a sequel to this book. Apparently there is going to be a sequel to this book, so I'm happy about that. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you. I needed a sequel to this book. Because again, it can't end that way. It can't end that way. Like, no. It wasn't a bad ending. It was just like a jaw-dropping kind of ending. So, you know, really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. I followed that up with 3 Shattered Souls. It's the final book in Mia Corlin's 5 Broken Blades series. I think what I love most about this is the progression of the story. Just the way the story has evolved. No one is safe. You never know which character is going to be safe. You never know who's going to die. So I think that that was really, really well done. How it was structured and how the rising tension continued to build and how the plot was very much unpredictable. I didn't know what was going to happen next, you know, and I read a lot. But I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know the direction the story was going to take. It was bittersweet, the ending a little heartbreaking, but it was satisfying, you know? I was like, you know what? This works. This does seem like the natural progression the story should have taken. This does seem like the natural ending of the story. Like, it makes sense to end it the way she did, given how she has built the previous 2 novels, Mia Corland. So I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I thought the rising tension was really, really well done. I think her writing style is very accessible as well. I know a lot of people say like, oh, it seems like very much young adult writing. So what if it does? I didn't personally feel that. But again, there is also no shame in that either. I think her writing style is accessible. You know, that's what I think it is. It's accessible. It's accessible, you know, it's fast paced, it has really good storytelling, it's not too flowery, it's not too lyrical. It is just a fast paced kind of heisty kind of story, you know? So I think the writing style is really, really strong and really, really well done. And I love the character dynamics. I love how the characters have grown. I love how they have evolved since book one. And I like the found family unit that the characters have formed with one another. I followed that up with A Sea of Unspoken Thing. I think what I like most about Adrienne Young is her atmosphere. I love the atmosphere of her storytelling, especially when it comes to her magical realism fiction books. You know, and I think I like her fiction more than her sci-fi fantasy, which is saying a lot because I do like her fantasy books. I just read Fallen City the previous month for my book club. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think I like her fiction books a little bit more because she lends more atmosphere when she's telling the story. And the atmosphere is very similar, you know, Spells for Forgetting, The Making of June Farrow, and Sea of Unspoken Things. I can see the similarities in the atmosphere, but each story is very much haunting. You know, it has this haunting tone to it. And the same can be said for A Sea of Unspoken Things. Your main character is back home after the death of her brother, and she's a little suspicious about the death of her brother, her twin brother. Reconnecting with old loves and reconnecting with the small town that she left, and mysterious disappearances, and there's something unsettling, and her brother is kind of haunting her. You know, her brother is haunting her because she doesn't think her brother died of natural causes, you know? She thinks something fishy happened, but she can't prove it, and she can't pinpoint why, you know? I loved the tension. I love that haunting atmosphere of the storytelling. I think she's really, really good at creating that haunting atmosphere with her storytelling. And they're short and they're sweet and they're hooking, they're addictive, her fiction books. So I think her writing style is stronger. I don't even think it's strong. It's different than her fantasy books. It really is different. It almost seems like she is two different people, but she's writing two different genres. But I love the haunting atmosphere that she has with her fiction books, especially this one in particular. You know, you have that haunting. She sees her dead brother's ghost. She hears him talking to her. So I like that. She thinks she's like just grieving and going a little crazy. But no, you as the reader, you kind of sense something is happening. And I like that unsettlingness that is in the tone. For my friend's book club, we read A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. I love this book. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Follows a trans woman who, when she is presumed dead in battle, she takes on, you know, her true identity as a woman, and she goes and she lives with her beautiful, loving, and accepting brother and his wife. And then she reconnects with her old best friend who is still suffering PTSD from the war. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I don't really say that about a lot of romance books, but it was beautiful because it's not just, romance plays a huge part in the book. Don't get me wrong. Romance is like a core aspect of this book, but it's also about this trans woman and her finding her place and her reconnecting with her old friend, her best friend, and their whole romance, and how, honestly, the funniest part is he is more mad that she faked her death and didn't come find him. He is more mad at that than the fact that, you know, she is now a she. And I love that. I thought that was actually kind of beautiful. I'm like, you're more mad that they kind of abandon you over everything else, and I think that that's the sweetest thing in the world. You get to see their beautiful, loving romance. You get to see the acceptance and the things that she has to struggle with at being a trans woman in this, time period. So it really was a beautiful story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, this is a book I wouldn't normally have read, but I wholeheartedly support my Bestie Jeff's book club pick, because these are books that have like a lot of heart and soul to them, and this one really was beautiful in my personal opinion. Absolutely loved it. For the book club I host, the Fantasy Fanatics book club, we read Leviathan Wakes, and oh my god, I'm so mad it took me so long to read this book. So good. Yes, I watched the first season of The Expanse years ago when it first aired. So that was still in the back of my mind, but I loved this book. I will say it was a little slow to start. I will admit that. However, it was still a phenomenal book. I loved the little horror, like Dead Space kind of aspect to it. The little horror aspect that's in the book. I love the noir aspect with the story as well. I think it was just so well written. I love the dual POV. I loved the rising tension. And you know what? It was okay for me that it was slow, because you knew it was building to something. The story was building to something, so it made sense. It was so well done. I can't wait to finish reading the whole series. I'm so glad the publisher seems to be finishing, books 4, 5, and 6 are finally going to get collector's editions, so I can maybe have a matching set. I was getting worried for a while. I really was getting worried, because I have the collector's editions of the first 3, Leviathan Wakes, that bright pink, which is like not my color, but it's like a bright pink. So, it really was a good book. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. I haven't watched the rest of The Expanse, okay? I haven't seen the rest of the series. So, I want to. I probably will. Hopefully, make time for it. We'll see. I'm rewatching Psych right now. But, honestly, such a good book. I'm so mad it took me so long to read it. Now, for my personal book club, we read Agnes Holbert's Mystical Cat Shelter. 5 stars. No notes. It's perfect. It's so cozy. This is a book I probably could have read in a day, because I really just wanted to curl up on a couch and do nothing but read it. It's cozy. It's got cats. You have the grumpy Sunshine who like lives in chaos, and then you have her, and she's, still kind of like a grieving widow, and she finds everything needs to be in order. She's always making lists in her head. So I love how they're like opposites attract. And I thought it was such a beautiful, fun story. Honestly, it was fun. It was cozy. It was magical. No notes. It was perfect. Like, this was really a book I really just wanted to curl up and read. I thought the cat descriptions were adorable. Like His Majesty the Tyrant, adorable. I love the dichotomy between the two characters, between Havelock and Agnes. I love how Havelock is just this wizard, and he just wants to be left alone, and the world thinks he's an evil wizard, and he's like, I'm really not. But he likes that, because then people will leave him alone. It's like me with like my resting bitch face. I'm really not that scary, but I have such a resting bitch face that my best friend said when she first met me, she was afraid to ever approach me, back when she was a customer at the bookstore that we work at. She was like afraid of me because of my resting bitch face. So I connect to that. I get it. But it was such a cozy book, and I absolutely loved it. River of Spirits is a book that I read nightly to my kids. I would read this book ahead of my son. Like, I'd read to them every night, but even though they were asleep, I'm like, I can read one more chapter, because I didn't want to put it away. It was fun. It was wonderful. My son's biggest grievance is that there was no map of the underworld, and I agree with that. However, considering that the rivers kind of change and move, I understand why there's no map of the underworld. And not even the underworld, the underwild. So the wildness in the underworld. I like how the book dealt with grief. You know, as an adult, I can see how it's dealing with grief. I don't think kids are really seeing how it's dealing with grief. But maybe not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. The kids are dealing with grief, you know, with loss, and also with memories, you know. And by the time you get to the book, they realize as long as you hold those memories dear to your heart, the person who left you isn't truly gone. And you can't just forget to live, you know. You can't lose yourself to the grief that you forget to live. Those are like the two messages in the book, and I think that that's beautiful. You know, on a conscious level, kids probably won't realize that, but I think on a subconscious level they will. And I think that that's beautiful when authors write stories that will be able to help young readers on a subconscious level. You know, I love books that are thoughtful like that, and deep like that, and enriching like that. I really, really do think that they are beautiful stories, you know? And this very much is a beautiful story. And if you love Greek mythology, it's great because you're on an adventure in the underworld. Karen is her caretaker. She meets Melinoe? I never pronounce her name correctly. They're in the Wonderworld, you know. She meets Hecate. It's great. It's beautiful. I loved it. It was so much fun to read. I followed that up with Baptism of Fire, and I figured it out. Why I'm having such a hard time with the Witcher series. My husband actually figured it out for me. There's too many side quests. Okay, when I play video games, do I do as many side quests as possible? Yeah. I'm a Squeenix player. The grind is real, you know. You have to do the side quest. You have to. Here's the difference. You get a choice when you play video games. Whenever I get bored of side questing, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break and go back to the main storyline. You can't do that when you're reading. You just can't do that when you're reading. I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh my god, can we just go back to you going on your adventure to find Cirilla? It's like, no, we're going to go do this, and we're going to talk about Cirilla, and, you know, follow these rumors with Cirilla and Yennefer. And it's like, okay, that's great, but can we just quicken the pace, please? That's my issue. There are so many side quests. And that's probably why I liked the first two so much, you know, the two collections. Last Wish and Sword of Destiny. I liked those two because each was just a side quest. And that was it. There wasn't an overarching story or plot to the side quest. It was just each story was on its own. And that was it. And that was great. And it was perfect. And I loved it. But we have an overarching plot to this story. He's been trying to get back to Cirilla for like, what, 2 books now? Please, just go get Cirilla. I can't take much more. Again, and maybe it's a translation issue as well, but I wanted a faster pacing. Like, again, I don't mind side quests. I'm still side questing in which one am I replaying right now? I'm replaying Final Fantasy 12, Zodiac Age. That has a lot of side quests. A lot. Oh, and Tomb Raider too. I try to do like all the mini games. So I love doing the side quests, but I eventually do get bored of just doing side quests, you know? That I just want to like finish this or go back to the story, and I'm like, let me just pause on the story and go back to side questing. You can choose when you're playing video games. You can't really choose when you're reading. You're kind of just stuck with it. And, you know, I wanted more focus on the story and not so much on the side quests. Alright. I did read Sibylline by Melissa de la Cruz. First of all, I love her writing style. I forgot how much I liked her writing style. It's quick, it's easy, lots of good intention. Second of all, the online controversy of the necrophilia was greatly over-exaggerated. There is no necrophilia. There is no necrophilia. Okay, I read this book for homework because I work in a bookstore and I love young adult books. And if I don't think something is appropriate for young audiences, I will take it out. I took Manny Scacco's Kingdom of the Cursed and Feared and Wicked. I took those guys out of young adult and I moved them back into adult. Or not back to. I recoded them as adult. They're still coded as young adult. There's an orgy in book 2, and then she gives him a blowjob in book 3, and it's very vivid that he's coming in her mouth. Okay? Those are reasons why I took those books out of young adult. Okay? This book, I was wholly expecting to be uncomfortable in reading it. I was not. First of all, I am a sexual assault survivor, you know? So I do expect it. I did very much expect to get the ick when I was reading this book. I very much went into this book thinking, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm going to read it. I fully expect it to be uncomfortable, and I fully expected to call out Good Morning America for having the audacity to market this book as their young adult book club pick. First of all, no, it did not give me the ick. It did not make me uncomfortable. I reread the scene 3 times to understand what I was reading and to try to understand where everyone was trying to get the necrophilia from. He is dead in the previous chapter, okay? I will say that. He is dead. His 2 friends find him dead, and they're kind of like kissing him and be like, you know in movies when you find your loved one, you're like, no, you can't be dead, you can't be dead. They're like sobbing. They're like, no, trying to slap his face, kiss him, like, he's dead, right? The one guy is just like, I think I can bring him back. He's like, but I need your help. He kisses her. Mind you, they were a couple of chapters ahead. They were like making out. So he kisses her with her consent to siphon her life force. And she's like, yes, because they really are. It is a true love triangle. Because the dead guy, at 2 points in the book, early on, he made out with her and he made out with him. And he initiated them, okay? So, he's in love with both of them. You know, it's very much a true love triangle between these 3 characters. So a threesome was incredibly predictable. Like, I saw that coming a mile away, right? He siphons the life force from her, kisses dead guy, and it's literally a kiss of life. That's it. Chapter with the dead guy. Wakes up. He's alive. He thinks he's dreaming, okay? He thinks he's dreaming when he sees the 2 people he loves. He thinks he's dreaming, and he's like, I will say, this is where it's a gray area, and it is questionable. They do make moves on him first, but he responds in earnest, which is why it's a gray area, you know? Do they make a move on him first? Yes. However, he thinks he's having like an erotic dream where he's like, oh my god, yes, my dream come true. So it's like, it's really hard to say it's non-consensual when he does become an active person. He is active. He is actively participating. So, okay, little graphic detail. So, they undress themselves first, and then they undress him. And that's, you know, really the gray area there. Because he is alive. He's not dead. They realize, oh, yay, he's alive. Yay, right? Okay. And she puts her nipple near his mouth, and he takes it into his mouth. He consciously, again, he thinks he's dreaming. He thinks he takes, you know, her in his mouth. Very much aware of it. And then the guy is blowing him. So he's thinking he's having a euphoric, erotic dream. Like, to him, in his mind, it's like, this is a dream come true for him, right? And then the girl lays on her back, and our previously dead guy. He's the one, he gets on top of her, and then he starts, you know, making love to her. And that's when he realizes, oh shit, I'm not dreaming. This is happening. And you can tell by the tone, like, he's so fucking happy it's happening. So the three-way was consensual. It was not necrophilia. It was not it's not unconsensual. I would say, considering, and it's literally, it starts at the bottom of the page and then it ends at the top of the page. So it's really just 3/4 of a page of a sex scene. And that's it in the entire book. The entire book. So, I don't know where they got the necrophilia from. I kept hearing online, it's a 3-way with a corpse. It's non-consensual. It's like, that is exactly not what happened. I reread it 3 times to try to understand. Okay? Like, I reread it 3 times to try to understand. So, it was definitely, you know, not the ick. There are young adult books that are slightly more graphic, that have more sex scenes in them. I mean, again, audiences are maturing younger and younger. I do think that maybe it shouldn't be young adult. It's more new adult, if anything. So I would say the youngest would be 16. I would not go lower than 16. That would be the youngest that I would put it at. 16 and over is where I would think that this book is acceptable, right? Kids see worse than the scene on TV nowadays. They see worse in movies. I mean, they see worse online, honestly. So it really wasn't that bad. It wasn't even hugely grotesque or explicit. It was just 3/4 of a page. And he is alive. And he is an active participant. And he is enjoying himself. And yeah, okay. I'm just going to stop there. It was not necrophilia. I just want to stress that. Because that's what's been going on online. It's necrophilia. It's not. It's not. Alright. I followed that up with The Last Starborn Seer. I liked this book. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it. I think I set my expectations really, really too high for this book based on the cover art. But I did really enjoy it, and I still am excited for the second book. I do want to say, for Leilani, is that how you pronounce her name? Yeah, Leilani. There's a lot of epic world building in this book. There is kind of a love triangle, but not like a true love triangle. It's he likes her, she likes him, he likes her. So it's like a L. It's an L, I guess. And I do think there's not a whole lot of romance. There is a romance subplot to it. It's very minimal though. So I don't know why it's called like a romantasy. The romance aspect to it is very much, it's there, but it's not the core of the story at all. It's this epic fantasy aspect of the story that is core. And it's very much character driven. You're following Leilani, and for most of her life she's been abused emotionally, mentally, because she is a starborn seer, and everyone blames anyone who has been branded as a star or as any type of magical being as, you know, a bane or cursed, right? Well, she has to go on this epic journey to try to save the world, and maybe that'll redeem her and make her love herself because she hates herself, right? She goes on this journey. She does learn to kind of love her magic in a way. But as her character develops, she tends to become unlikable. It's understandable though. You know, she's kind of put in a lot of tough decisions, and while I do think that she could have made better decisions in those tough situations, I understand why she made those decisions, because she was told, like, you can't do this, like, you have to keep everything a secret. And you do see her internally battle it. She's like, I don't want to keep secrets from these people. These new people are my friends. She's like, they're the only friends I've ever really had. you know? So she doesn't want to keep the secrets. But they keep telling her, like, no, for the plan to work, you have to keep the secret. And they have valid points. But it's a whole trust thing, you know? And they keep feeling betrayed that she doesn't trust them enough. But you understand why. So it makes sense a little bit. But, you know, it was a little frustrating because I would have liked her character development to come without the... It made sense, though. You know, that's this part that I struggle with. Like, it made sense for her character to go on this journey for this specific reason, but it was just a little hard to continue to find her a likable character. I did not think she was always likable, and that's my biggest problem with this book. I understood her. I got where she was coming from. They kept putting her in tough situations. And I think she should have made better judgments, right? But I understand why she didn't make those judgments. Again, she has spent her whole life being manipulated and abused and just taught to hate herself and pretty much imprisoned, you know, in her own home. So I get it. Like, I understand it. She definitely has a whole lot of character growth and a whole lot of character development that she needs to go through, hopefully in the second book. I am still excited to read the rest of the series, let me tell you. I think the world building and the magic system was really, really interesting, and I love the side characters, you know? I don't know how she's going to redeem what she did, though, at the end of this book, because it was really selfish, and she broke a promise. She was kind of a bitch for that, and I'm just like, oh, you did not fucking do that. I get why she did it, but it's like, you fucking made a promise. Why'd you fucking do that? Again, she keeps getting put in tough situations. Not all of them are forgivable for her actions, especially that last one. It was not really forgivable. Like, so she's going to have to do a lot of redemption in the next book. But I like morally gray characters, and she very much is entering the path of being morally gray. Last but not least, Cardcaptor Sakura, Volume 7. I love Cardcaptor Sakura. That's all I can say about that. I love the art style. I love Sakura's dynamic with Sharon and Tomoya. And, you know, just everyone. I love the characters. And I think it's just, there's some questionable things in Clamp's writing. Yes. Things I hadn't realized as a, you know, younger person. But you know what? I still very much enjoy Cardcaptor Sakura, and I really do love it. So yeah, those were all the books I read this month. Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.